I just want to reiterate the fact that I think this fight is not 50-50 how people think. Again, I think like the Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao fight, it's not going to live up to the hype. Now, people think that when I say that, it's going to be a boring fight and all this type of shit. That's not what I'm talking about. I always felt that Floyd's style was always going to nullify Manny, who required volume punching, essentially. Manny used to throw the same repetitious combinations. He wasn't a thinker in there. When he came up against guys like a Floyd Mayweather, like a Juan Manuel Marquez, who caused him to have to think about throwing, it really caused him problems, guys. You could see significantly, even at Adrian Broner, if you didn't exchange with him and things like that, and he had to think about how to come in, you just saw how greatly it affected Manny Pacquiao. Now, as far as this matchup, I mean, I feel it's very similar. You have a volume puncher. In this case, Spence, he's a strong guy. He's got heavy thudding blows. His most effective work is to the body. He's managed to break a couple guys' eyes. Okay, cool. But you also got to understand, just like a Manny, Spence has been given specifically the same type of opponent. He's not fought too many different styles. A guy like Terrence Crawford, you could say what you want about his resume. I felt this about Floyd too, but he saw more styles than what Manny Pacquiao and I feel that Bud has seen more styles, Eastern European, Cuban. He's seen far more styles than what Errol Spence has saw. He's seen a guy who comes forward, lunges in at him. He's fought guys who fought more closely on the outside, He's fought other guys who have exceptional athleticism and who are punchers, such as a Gamboa. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like he's seen more of the styles. He's also, in my opinion, been fighting guys like a Mean Machine. People gonna laugh at that, but Mean Machine gave a harder fight to Terrence Crawford than Sean Porter did. A fight that a lot of you Spence fans claim that Terrence Crawford needs a fight to prove himself for a fight versus Errol Spence, but today you guys are changing up your tune per usual. This is what you guys do. I just think this is not going to live up to the hype, and it's not going to be what you guys think. I see, just like any other Terrence Crawford fight, this is a man who's yet to have someone take 4 rounds out of him. You understand? We told you during the Sean Porter film studies, Sean Porter at best is going to win 3 rounds. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what happened. You understand? It's never been the case against Terrence Crawford. He's a guy who adapts. Again, I don't see Spence adapt. When Spence gets into adversity, he does the same thing, but does it harder, like a Josh Taylor or something like that. Against Kell Brook, if you guys go watch that first film study, same repetitious stuff all night. Again, if you're going to try to lunge in with the jab and then like the left sweep, haymaker sweep that we called out in there, by the 5th time, Crawford's going to figure that pattern out, and he's going to have something to answer that. You understand? So this is another thing. We brought up Mean Machine. What's funny is that Mean Machine fight was a very tactical fight. Mean Machine was able to bring adjustments to Crawford's adjustments. You can go check out that film study. If you guys actually watch the fight on your own, you're going to see that the feet played a very big role into that fight. It's another thing we need, this is why we're doing the Indongo fight. We're showing you what happens when the lead foot advantage is not available there to the more naturally Southpaw fighter. You know what I'm saying? Those same types of angles and those same type of opportunities that the lead foot advantage has for Southpaw, again, you're already on even playing field ground there. But to me, Crawford, even in Southpaw position, is a better mover, is a better educated mover than Errol Spence. So I think you're at a disadvantage now in this fight in that regards. And this is one thing that's given you an advantage, against the conventional fighters that you're typically, that you normally see Spence fight. I'm trying to think what else people were talking about. Oh yeah, so you hear these fans talk about that Errol Spence had, they praised him last fight for having dog in him. But these are the same people that use that as a weakness to Terrence Crawford, that he has too much dog, he has to get back. But even if you watch the Danny Garcia fight, Danny Garcia was keeping up with Spence and landing punches for a lot of the time. I want to say the first 6 rounds. You understand? There was no big difference there, you know. But what Spence does, it's exactly what Terrence Crawford does, according to you guys. He'll come back after he gets hit, but he's going to throw more volume, you understand? Now, he's not necessarily the most accurate puncher, but he's going to come back. He's going to throw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 punches. And our prediction video, we told you that was going to be the case versus Ugas. And that was the case. He get clipped. Now I got to come back and throw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 punch, you know, combinations or whatnot. I'm telling you guys, I just don't see this being or living up to the hype that a lot of people are hyped up for. Now, I do want the fight, and don't get it twisted. I'm hyped up myself, but it's for different reasons from a lot of you fans. They did the same shit with Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd. Floyd has never fought a guy who can throw 100 punches in a fucking round. You understand? Spence, that's great that you can throw 100 fucking punches in a round, but how impactful are those punches? You understand? People talk about his jab. Against Ugas and Sean Porter, he landed 29 out of 300. For the Ugas fight, I think it was like 30 out of 300 punches. You know what I'm saying? It's not really as impactful as what people think. When I think of a good jab, you know, I think of a Larry Holmes or someone like that. Someone whose jab really has an impact on the fight. With Spence's jab, it's more of a smoke and mirror distraction tactic, sleight of hand type shit. He's using it to distract you so that he can close in the distance, come in and then go after your body. That's Spence's whole game. Again, we did the first film study, guys. YouTube would not allow me to post it, but you guys can watch that. I left the link in the description. Anyone can view it. You know, if you just do a little bit more extra effort that you're probably normally used to, you know, on the internet. You know, I'm not even knocking that shit. But, you know, there's just too many parallels to this matchup. And again, I don't think it's going to live up to the hype. You know, one guy, he doesn't need to throw 1,000 punches, and he's more effective, and he's doing this against guys who've never been knocked out before. We can't say that about Ugas. I saw Ugas get hurt by Elbow Ramos, guys. You understand? I can't say that about Sean Porter. I've seen Sean Porter knocked down before. You know, I've seen Sean Porter lose before. Ugas had 4 losses on his fucking record. You understand? You know, Ugas got his face busted up by old-ass Manny Pacquiao. You know, his face was fucked up, minus the broken orbital. But, I mean, he could have... Errol Spence, once again, could have been following the coattails of someone else's work, dude. I truly believe that. You know, again, you landed 350 on Mickey. Why didn't you break his orbital bone? You know what I'm saying? You know, I ask myself questions like that. But in this film study, again, we're just going to go over this Crawford and Indongo. You're going to see the same openings that are present on Indongo as you see on Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? But Crawford, he's a far more dynamic, more effective, impactful puncher than Spence has ever seen. Again, when people sit here and talk shit about Mean Machine, you know, and I'm going to say the same thing I said during the Sean Porter versus Terrence Crawford film studies. What are you guys going to say? There's a high chance that this guy's not even going to be as effective as Mean Machine. You know what I'm saying? Now, we've already proven that with Porter. You understand? But Spence has never fought a puncher that hits as hard as a guy like Mean Machine. Again, Crawford is doing this to guys who have never lost, never fucking been knocked down, never been knocked out. You understand? These are the type of opponents that Crawford is facing. You know, it's this popularity contest. We addressed this in the Sean Porter versus Terrence Crawford film study. But I do not rate guys off popularity contests. I would like to see an Errol Spence fight a Mean Machine and see what happens when you finally fight a guy who can actually punch, not a guy coming off a loss like Kell Brook, you know, or a Sean Porter, who we know is not a puncher, or Ugas, who we know is not a puncher, a guy with 12 knockouts, guys. You know, I think it brings a different dynamic when you go against a guy that can actually hurt you. And we showed you in the Sean Porter film studies, when it's a guy that he doesn't necessarily feel threatened by the power, yeah, then you get gung-ho Sean Porter. And I feel this will be a similar case with Errol Spence. But once you fight a guy that can actually hurt you and the punches have an effect, you know, We told you you're going to get back foot Porter. You're going to get the guy who's not gung-ho, but you're not going to get the guy that throws 700, 800, 900 punches. And I feel that's going to be the case here for the Errol Spence fight as well. Again, that volume is going to get you clipped. And again, some of the tactics that we've seen Errol Spence use to close the gap, again, if you might get Crawford the first, second time, you understand? You might even give him the third, but the fourth and fifth, you're really approaching checkmate in those types of situations against a guy like Terrence Crawford. The guy can craft, he can adapt, and like I said, he'll craft a tool that could basically end the fight, or at least be the beginning of the end. Once you're drunk, Crawford don't have a problem finishing opponents like an Errol Spence, you understand? This is a guy that needs 1,000 punches and a ring doctor, to stop a fight. If Terrence Crawford has an opponent that was in the state of a Kell Brook or, Ugas at the end of their fights, those guys would not make it, for as long as they did with Errol Spence. You know what I'm saying? If you get an orbital broken eye socket versus Terrence Crawford, I mean, you're probably going to quit, because Crawford, it's not going to be this thing where I hit you up with 1,000 cuts. No, he's gonna stop that fight. And again, he's not gonna need the ring doctor or anyone like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, we're gonna get into this Indongo fight. It's very short, sweet, to the point, but again, it does highlight Crawford's awareness against other fellow Southpaws, some of the punches that I know Errol Spence has not really experienced yet. And again, just the way he's able to seize openings, punch placement, timing are very huge in this fight. Again, in the first film study, like I was saying, we were able to see just how many mistakes Errol Spence was making, and we were like barely on round 2 or 3, man. They already have montages made of this dude getting countered and stuff like that. With Terrence Crawford, it is going to be it's a chess match. It's not checkers. It's not the shit that Errol Spence is used to playing. Again, Terrence Crawford, he sizes opponents up. He's constantly, changing levels, constant rhythm. He's trying to make guys, overreach. He's trying to make guys make mistakes. And Crawford is a guy that makes people pay for mistakes. So again, let's go ahead. Let's get into this fight. All right, here we go. Misjabbed attempt. 2-1 there by Indongo. Crawford's keeping his poise. Indongo, just like a Spence, is a guy who, he's either going to come forward or he's going to go straight back. For the most part, that's Errol Spence. I call that 2D side scroller, 2D brawler. Crawford, this is a third-dimensional fighter. Do you understand? Who oftentimes can sometimes reach into the fourth dimension and come with some shit that his opponents aren't going to see. That's going to be the case in this fight as well. Of course, Indongo is not an Errol Spence level fighter, but again, this is just to show you, that those opportunities, you already landed a pullback left counter there. You understand? Crawford's already timing the left hand on him earlier. Indongo did try to answer back with some punches, some volume, but nothing effective. Now, you take quick notice of how he dipped to avoid that shot, that lead left by Crawford. That's going to come to play into the fight, and that certain scenario has come into play in prior Crawford fights. He's still able to hit guys borderline back of the head when they do that shit, and that is a tactic that Spence does a lot. He did it throughout the Sean Porter fight, dipping forward like that. A guy like Crawford, you don't want to give that type of opportunity. Your equilibrium, nice right hook, to Indongo's body right there. Again, catching him overreaching, out of position and able to answer back with an effective punch. He tried to step back, left hand uppercut to no avail. But this is what Crawford's going to do. I mean, he's constantly going to try to get you to overreach, overreact, caught you with another right hook counter. Now, for both guys, the right hook is going to be a central punch. Whoever wins the real estate on that punch is going to easily have the advantage against the other in this fight. The right hook is going to play a very important role, especially when Crawford goes into southpaw position. It's a shot that lands from outside your peripheral, and you can get caught with a punch that you don't see when you're in that southpaw stance there. for the most part, it fell out round, but the most effective shots have been landed by Terrence Crawford. You see that overreaching wild shit again, and you saw how Crawford could have already snuck one underneath the body there. Spence's guard, he raises up and he keeps his elbow to guard. You know, Crawford at some point, and you'll see Errol Spence do that a lot, you know. I forgot the technical name for that. But Crawford, he's going to learn that that left hook counter may not be available up top, but he is the type of fighter that we told you seizes opportunities and openings on fighters, and he can place his shots and he can time them as well. But when Errol Spence raises his right arm with his elbow, because that's how he defends, Crawford's going to see that the opening is at the body, and he's going to land that left straight downstairs, and he's going to land it with significant effect. There's a fill-out round, but we still gave that round to Crawford. He tries some looping overhand left from that far out of distance, you know. Of course, Spence is more active. He's more, throws more punches, of course. But again, when a guy hits you with some shit, I don't think you're going to be as gung-ho to do what you normally do. And like I said, these Sean Porters of the world and, you know, whoever else, Keith Thurmans and these Errol Spences, you know, that volume's going to get cut down when you come across a guy whose punches, you know, not only can he land punches that you're not used to seeing, but I mean, his punches have significant effect. And people say that Crawford does not have a left hand. I find that shit quite funny, dude. I've seen him body bag a couple guys off that left. And again, we saw what the left uppercut did to Sean Porter. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Crawford's left is easily a guy's best power punch, you know, if you're rating it against other fighters. Now we see that that left counter there is wide open for the body, and you can see the effect that it had on Indongo. If Errol Spence wants to do his simple patented jab, 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 his lazy ass jab that I don't think is as good as you people claim, you know, and you're leaving that body open like that, Crawford's already shown you he has an answer for that. And once again, that lead left to the body, which we're trying to tell you guys, it's going to play a role later on into this fight. Just give it a minute, okay? But Crawford had an opportunity in the first round to seize that on Indongo. He finally landed it on Indongo in this round, and again, it's still going to play a factor. The right hook to the body, still playing a factor. Nice jab up top. Again, you tried to lean forward. This is something that we see Spence do a lot, dipping your head and leaning forward. And what ended up happening is Crawford was able to land that left, you understand? And it was right behind the ear. I've seen in other fights where it lands close to the back of the head, but those shots really fuck up your equilibrium. Now he's trying his loopy ass, you know, overhand right, and again, he's a little desperate right now because he's a little shell-shocked, and he knows he's got to do something. He can't just let Crawford come up in there and end this fight in the second round, because that would be crazy. But, you know, again, Crawford, he's already been able to seize the openings from the southpaw position, and he's already utilizing and taking advantage of that. The lead forward, that's one thing you need to pay attention when Spence does that shit. We saw him do it all throughout the Ugas fight as well. Did it a lot in the Sean Porter fight. That's going to put him in a very dangerous spot, and Crawford is capable of landing that shot. Again, I've seen him land that in other fights as well. And then that body, you know what I'm saying? People are sleeping on Terrence Crawford's body punching, and I don't understand why this man lands devastating body punches on opponents. So no, they're actually showing the replay right now. I may need to cut this part out. If it still sticks, then we got lucky with YouTube. Typically, they'll block your channel for showing these in-between moments, in between rounds. So I missed this one. We'll see if it costs me, okay? You guys are watching this, then everything went fine. And again, we can't compare Indongo to Errol Spence. I get it, guys. Trust me, I get it. But Errol Spence is a guy who makes a ton of mistakes. Go to the first film study. Just go to the video, click the description. The link is there. This guy, again, Crawford has the ability to make people pay for their mistakes. He's one of the best guys in the game, in the sport of boxing, that does it. Again, Errol Spence has never faced the guy, as we talked about earlier, hits as hard as Mean Machine. He's never faced the guy who makes you pay for your mistakes like this. Him and Sean Porter, that that was two drunks fighting on a boat and fighting each other. You know, both damn near drowned each other. Do you understand? That was a sloppy ass fight. You can't be fighting that type of fight versus a Terrence Crawford. Crawford being patient, again, just trying to get, what's his name, to overextend himself and overreach, and he's going to capitalize on the mistakes, man. That's the name of the game the entire time versus Crawford. You're on a tightrope. And you're on a tightrope where punches mean more for Terrence Crawford. You can't sit here like a Sean Porter and Errol Spence where both guys threw 700-plus punches at each other. And only one costly mistake in the 11th round was the deciding factor on the fight. Those deciding factors, Crawford's going to be able to pick up very early on in the fight, guys. And this is a guy you do not want to do that shit against. Punch placement, timing, again, it's a whole different ballgame. You're blindly throwing the same combinations and doing the same shit over and over again, like in the Sean Porter fight, for example, Kell Brook fights. That lead left-hand counter, if he would have put full force in that, would have knocked out Indongo right there. But again, you're on a tightrope when you're fighting against a Terrence Crawford. And again, he came back with the left, and it's all she wrote. You want to throw that lazy-ass jab? Crawford's more than capable of landing that lead left to your body and having devastating effect.